Hello everyone, the place we are visiting today is called Rattlesnake Ready. It's here in Phoenix, Arizona, well Scottsdale I guess, and they do an amazing job teaching dogs how to stay away from rattlesnakes so owners don't have to worry about them as much. Let's go check it out. All right, so we are here with Cody, the owner and founder of Rattlesnake Ready. So you want to tell me about these guys?
Yeah, so we have a dog training business. We teach dogs to stay away from rattlesnakes, and it involves live rattlesnakes, and so we have kind of a educational exhibit as well. So these are all work snakes, actually. These are all diamondbacks that we use for the training, since they're the most commonly encountered down here in the Phoenix area. So diamondbacks, we use two different size snakes so the dogs get to see different sizes. So there's big adults, and then there's smaller guys in these smaller cages there. He's getting ready to shed here soon.
Yeah. These cages look so nice.
Arizona natives and a few other fun things. So, for summer hiding, but.
Awesome. And how do you keep the dogs protected as you train them with live rattlesnakes?
Yeah, so we actually muzzle the snakes using a special medical tape that isn't harmful to them. They don't love it, obviously, but they're basically rendered safe. The dogs are allowed to investigate the snakes, and when they're too close, they're wearing an e-collar. We give them a light correction with it. They typically blame the snake for where that came from and then want to run away from it. And so pretty quickly they're convinced to back away. And then we also do additional scent work using the fresh shed skins from rattlesnakes. We vacuum seal and freeze them, and they're using those for scent work. And then we also have a recording that we hide in bushes and teach them to run from rattling using that. And as I said, they get to see a little and a big real rattlesnake as well. And so pretty thorough process, and yeah, they pretty quickly go from being interested to wanting nothing to do with rattlesnakes, and keeps them safer in the desert.
Yes, it's very important to pet owners to have a facility like this or have that kind of training for their pets at home so they don't have to worry about them as often. You know, coming across rattlesnakes can be a little bit scary for those not knowing what to do, right? And why do they have different colors?
Yeah, just to essentially camouflage well with their terrain and not only blend in with the rocks but look like a rock themselves. So there's several varieties here. Got this one unlocked, so it's just actually cleaning it out, but they just produce some babies.
I think this one's my favorite. The feisty white speckled rattlesnake.
And then, yeah, some other commonly encountered stuff. We got sidewinders down there. There's some Arizona black rattlesnakes that are out right now.
How many different species do you have here?
It's a good question. That number is kind of increasing every day. We're still adding to the facility. We've got, let's see, I think somewhere around 60 plus exhibits right now with actual snakes in them. Anywhere from 1 to 3 snakes per exhibit. But yeah, there's definitely all the native rattlesnakes to Arizona, a couple exceptions on the protected species, and then we've got some California rattlesnakes, and we're working on getting some of the eastern species as well right now. So. Like some of these guys are out right now too. There's the Grand Canyon rattlesnake down there. Yeah, we just want people to not only have their dogs educated, but there's a lot of misinformation and myth revolving around rattlesnakes. So we have a lot of signage, as you can see in here, educational posters and things like that. And so we're really just trying to inspire a little more awe and respect toward them rather than just fear and misunderstanding.
Definitely. And when a dog gets trained here, does it have to come back every year? What's the follow-up look like?
Typically, so the one nice thing about this training, it is a one-time lesson. They actually learn it really quickly. Now, to make sure that that's true and they're remembering it, we recommend testing them annually to make sure that they retained it. So most dogs go through that 4-step process involving those steps I alluded to, and then from then on it's more like a pop quiz sort of thing. So a year later they'd come back, we have a live muzzled rattlesnake out. If the dog takes one look at it and runs away, then we know it clearly retained it, and that's it, that's all we do. And then of course if they are a little tempted to sneak up to it again or something, then we'll remind them to back away, but honestly it's very rare that we see that happen. Most dogs, if they did well the first time, they retain it for a long time.
Perfect. And then you have some non-venomous snakes as well.
So we got a few. That gopher snake's a baby, but it'll get upgraded to a bigger exhibit. The rest are king snakes. And yeah, those guys tend to hide the most, but we do pull a lot of those out so kids can handle them. And there's a little more hands-on because obviously with the rattlesnakes, we can't be pulling those out to let people play with.
Exactly. So this one has a coloration that some people might associate with a venomous snake. Why does a non-venomous snake have that kind of coloration?
Yeah, just mimicry. So hopefully most things have learned to recognize those bright colors are a threat. And if they see it on a non-venomous thing, it might be fooled into thinking it's harmful and therefore leave it alone. So it's really to the snake's benefit to, in this case, match a coral snake fairly closely.
Yeah, they have those bands with the red, yellow, and black.
We don't have a coral snake in here, but we have a photo of one so we can show people. This little Panamint rattlesnake is out right now too.
Oh, those guys are cool.
Yeah.
So this is a species that you wouldn't train with?
No, yeah, this is just one of the California natives, and I guess Nevada too, and they're just another one of many species the United States has that we just wanted to show people what they look like. These little Hopi rattlesnakes are all three out right now together too. This is one of my.
Do you know whether the training is something that is species specific? So you have to train them for different species in Arizona?
So luckily so this is not from like a scientific paper, it's more just from my observations. If we use a rattlesnake, there tends to be crossover. So luckily they all pretty much sound the same. Scent, I can't say for sure they're all identical. I don't think they are because they, I think, smell the right species and know to mate with the right species. I think there's some differences in scent, but I also do think there's some overlap because all the rattlesnakes are pretty closely related. So what we've noticed is dogs that go through this tend to avoid all rattlesnakes post-training. Some will still show a little interest in like a gopher snake or king snake, and my theory is because they do smell different, they don't rattle, so they're different enough that some dogs may show interest in those. And that's actually the exact reason that we have to use real rattlesnakes for the training, is so that it's specific and accurate enough that the dogs are learning to avoid the smell of not just a generic snake or a non-venomous snake, but specifically a rattlesnake. Just because that, at least on this side of the country, this is really the only venomous snakes you have to worry about, at least in terms of dogs being hurt. Coral snakes are here, but you just never hear of dogs being bit.
Do you train with the Sonoran toad?
We do actually, so that's a whole nother problem in Arizona, is dogs will try to grab one of those and essentially be intoxicated by their poison. And so we basically try to tame the prey drive of dogs going after those two and convince them that they're not also something not to mess with.
What's the difference between like the rattlesnake venom and the toad poison?
Yeah, so rattlesnake venom, as far as a dog being bitten goes, like there's really not a whole lot you can do on the spot. You have to get into a vet as soon as possible. They're going to treat them with anti-venom along with some other things. Toad poisoning is a little different. I don't know all the biochemistry behind it, but like a rattlesnake venom is designed to take down their prey, kill them. It typically is through hemotoxic ways, like where it's causing the blood to clot like crazy, or the opposite, like hemorrhage and bleed out. The toad poisoning is more of a defense mechanism. If they do get grabbed by something, pretty quickly there's neurological issues that start to take place. I don't remember the toxins that are in the toad specifically off the top of my head. I think bufotoxin's one of them, and maybe a couple others. But anyway, it causes like hallucinations. They foam and froth at the mouth like crazy. I think it has a bad kind of burning taste to dogs to it. And just their system goes haywire, and it can kill them if you don't flush it out quickly. So we try to educate people not only to teach their dog to avoid the toads too, but if they do get into it with one, you got to flush your dog's mouth out pretty quickly to wash out the poison. Luckily that takes care of it, but you kind of have to be quick about it.
I absolutely love places like this that teach people how to coexist with the animals that live around them. Of course, it's important to learn about their behavior and know what's going to happen if your dog or other family member gets bit. So this kind of education is so important. So coming to facilities like this really makes me happy because I know that our community members are getting the education that they need to keep themselves and their pets safe.
Also got some photography here. These are all local photographers in Arizona. So
Yes, I recognize a couple of them. I have this one in my
There
room.
you go. So that's from
Shout out to
Mr.
Trent.
Adam's a good, awesome photographer. Brian Hughes, the owner of Rattlesnake Solutions,
Yes.
has got a few photos up here as well. Yeah, Tim Coda and Jeff Martini or Martinu, I actually don't know.
Yes. Yes.
All awesome photographers here in Arizona, and there's some art on the wall there as
Oh,
well.
yes, Tell Hicks.
That's right.
He's one of my favorites too. I have a lot of his beaded lizard
There you go.
and Gila monster stuff. Always fun to see the beautiful snakes in the wild,
Yep.
doing their own thing and getting shot with cameras rather than other things.
Yeah, like, especially some of these where I can point out to people, like you can see where the white speckled rattlesnakes come from, like how they blend in so well in the mountain range. Yeah, sorry, a little bit of glare there. They're all metal prints, so they're a little glossy. Yes, it's fun to see them in habitat shots because we can only do so much in an exhibit with their
Exactly.
habitat. All that rain we've been getting, Juan's in good shape. So this is where most of the action takes place. So obviously in there, got education, people get to look through exhibits and learn about rattlesnakes. The dogs learn everything out here. So this is their training area. So they bring their dog out here. Little side note, we had this whole space snake fenced by Rattlesnake Solutions. So everything's sealed up nicely in a way that our snakes stay in and the wild unmuzzled ones don't get in.
Nice. Yes, we love Rattlesnake
You
Solutions.
can see a little better on this side, so yeah, everything's screened off, and we have had one rattlesnake on the property that was not one of ours.
Oh.
So that's more or less what motivated that getting done. But anyway, it's fairly new still. All the landscaping, this whole facility we built in the last year. And so once these trees get some size to them, we'll have some good shade. It's more or less designed to mimic kind of rattlesnake habitat, or like the dogs on a hiking trail. So we brought in boulders and planted mostly native vegetation, so we don't have to water out here very often.
So cool. So you just place the rattlesnakes anywhere?
Yeah, so kind of typically how it goes for new. So again, new dogs go through a 4-step process. Follow-ups are dogs that have been through it. They're the ones we just test. So the follow-ups, I'll put the one big snake just about anywhere. Let them run into it and see if they do a great job getting away from it quickly. And then new dogs, we start with the little snake over there. I usually have the shed skin over in this corner. So we kind of spread things out and put it in different spots so they're aware they can be anywhere. The speaker I typically hide in the brittle bush plants right there and teach the dog to run from rattling and, oops, excuse me. And yeah, so that's where it all takes place. They come in here, you know, unaware of what rattlesnakes are and leaving, wanting nothing to do with them.
Love it.
So,
That's so amazing.
Much
And it's
better alternative than getting bit, so it's
right. And how did you get started doing this kind of stuff? Did you have a run-in with a rattlesnake?
I grew up in a rural part of Northern California. There was nobody offering this sort of thing there, and my first job in high school was at a pet store, and all through high school and into junior college, and a customer actually came in asking about the training, and so I actually started it up more or less for fun, and it just took off. There was such a big need for it. Very few people love working with rattlesnakes, and so kind of found a niche and ran with it, and here we are 10 years later, and yeah, relocated the whole business to Arizona about 6 years ago. And yeah, we do a lot of dogs. We did, I think, almost 3,000 last year.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's about as much as we can keep up with too. We also do mobile training. So not only do we do training here at the facility, but I'll go to people's backyards and train as well. There's an additional fee for that, and people want to pay that because they have, so for instance, I actually have a blind dog today that really knows its backyard well, but wouldn't it'd be walking into walls out here. And so that was one that we can only work with the scent and sound aspects of the training, but she really wanted it done in her house, and that makes sense. And you get dogs that get car sick and don't want to travel well, so those are reasons we go to people's homes and do the training right in their backyard. So.
That's so impressive. Well, everything looks so great,
Thank you.
and I really appreciate you letting me come out here today.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Hope you
Again, this is Cody with Rattlesnake Ready here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Is there anything you would like to say to our viewers before we go?
If you have dogs and live anywhere near the desert, consider educating them to keep them safe. Also, if you ever just want to come check out the facility by appointment, you can schedule a visit and come look around, and there's no charge. And yeah, rattlesnakes
Cool.
have their rightful place in nature. We think they're fascinating and they're great pest control. So I think our ultimate mission, what I tell people, is to help people and their pets and wildlife live in harmony as much as possible.
I love that. Yes, that's definitely true, and we need more of that in Arizona for sure. So until the next animal adventure, love the planet and rattle on. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.